Level 1. $0. Your father is standing on a crate in a frozen schoolyard, reading a confession he did not write. His crime is corn. He traded factory tools for it because his kids were disappearing inside their clothes. Attendance is mandatory. You're 15, the kid who salutes first. Tonight, the state starves your family. In 22 years, the same office will call you partner, and mean it. You salute at everything, hoping it counts. It never has. What you know is prices. 2 uniform buttons, 1 potato. Your father's wrench? A week of corn. The officer running the session is Kwang, 26, the youngest party man the town ever produced. He holds your family's ration book over his head. 400 grams a day. That was the state's trust. Then he finds your salute in the crowd. Grow up loyal, or grow up light. That night, your grandmother sets a dried corn cob on the table. No questions. She will hand you corn for 22 years and never ask one. What she keeps back, you learn at the end. One more thing nobody in that schoolyard would believe. One day, Kwang stands in your doorway, holding this book out with both hands, shaking. Between here and there, a frozen river, $1 a crossing, a guard who looks away 9 seconds at a time. What does the first crossing cost? Level 2. $10. The ice talks. That is the first thing you learn on the river at 3 in the morning. It clicks and moans under your boots, and you learn to tell the sound that means cold from the sound that means dying. You cross at 3 because the guards change at 3. Everyone knows this, even the guards, especially the guards. The border here is not a wall, it is a schedule, and schedules can be memorized. Your father never sees that spring. He gets quieter through the winter, then smaller, and in March, he is a funeral your family cannot afford. In this town, that is not a figure of speech. Coffins cost corn. Your mother sells the door hinges. You stop being a student that same week, in the middle of a lesson, by standing up and walking to the river. The man who runs the crossing is Day. 40, a face like a shovel, counts everything twice. Money, sacks, people. Day counts you twice too, up and down, and hands you a pack frame with 50 pounds of salt on it. Here is the business, plain. Salt goes over to China, where it turns into cash. Rice comes back, where it turns into life. And every load pays the border guard 10%, not handed over. Never handed. Day leaves a pack of cigarettes on a flat rock with folded bills inside. Everyone knows what is in the pack. The pack exists, so nobody has to say it. Third crossing, the river talks, and then it shouts. The ice opens a seam under your left boot, black water breathing through it. You do what the older runners drilled into you. Lie flat, spread wide, crawl. 40 meters on your belly, dragging the salt, while the Chinese lights on the far bank sit there like they have all night. You deliver the sack with your sleeves frozen into pipes. Day counts the load twice, then puts $1 American in your hand. Green, soft, older than you. You have never held one before. It smells like nothing, and it buys anything. At home, in the kitchen, your grandmother Suk is awake. She does not ask where you were. She never asks. Suk puts a dried corn cob in your pack for the next trip, and that becomes the ritual. Every night you leave, there is a cob in the pack. Food that asks no questions. That is the whole religion of her. Your sister Mina, 9 now, hides the dollar inside the stovepipe. The stovepipe is her idea. Mina is 9, and already better at this than most adults, which should worry you more than it does. Then February teaches the real lesson. 2 runners from another crew go out on a Tuesday and do not come back. Caught on the far bank, marched through town with their sacks hung around their necks. Their boss had skipped a payment upstream. It is the entire story. The river did not take them. The schedule did not fail. A guard got his cigarettes with nothing inside. Day says the thing you will carry longer than any sack. He points his chin across the ice, at the Chinese traders on the far bank, warm in their trucks. The men who own the sacks never touch the ice. Remember that. 8-9 crossings a month now. $10, a good month, before the cuts. You are 16. You are the family's whole economy, and your knees already sound like the river. The river doesn't kill runners. Unpaid men do. Level 3. $100. The respect arrives before the money does, which is how you know it isn't real yet. 2 years on the ice, and Day hands you the crew's route ledger. Which guard, which hour, which price. It is a school notebook with a rice paste cover. and it is worth more than everything your family owns. Day counts your face twice before he lets go of it. Lose this, lose your hands. He is not being colorful. At the town market, the stall women save you the warm spot by the stove now. A border guard nods at you in daylight, on the street, in front of people. You are 18, wearing respect like a coat 2 sizes too big, checking your reflection in truck mirrors to see if it fits yet. It does not fit yet. Then a new guard rotates onto the night stretch, and the whole crew stops moving. Nobody knows him. Nobody has paid him. An unpaid man is the most dangerous object on this border. So you walk the riverbank 3 nights straight, hands in pockets, learning the new guard like a schedule. On the 3rd night, you find it. He is selling army boots out the back door of the guard post, quietly, badly. So the man is already in the market. He just doesn't know it yet. You leave cigarettes on the flat rock with a note of numbers inside, instead of bills. 10%, same terms as the old guard, in exchange for 9 quiet seconds. The new guard smokes one and looks at the river while you load. That is a yes. It is the first deal of your life, and you closed it without saying one full sentence. Day starts calling you the accountant. The crew eats because of your notebook. $100 sits buried in a jar under the kitchen floor, and you check on it the way other men check on infants. Sook packs 2 corn cobs now, 1 for Day. Feed the man who feeds your boy. Then the trade office. Kwang has been promoted, the youngest stamp in the district, and every market permit in town now crosses his desk. You go in to pay a crossing fee for Day, and there Kwang is. Pressed uniform, tea going cold, and on the wall a framed photo. Kwang, standing beside a broad man from Pyongyang, his patron. Kwang mentions the man twice in 4 minutes without being asked. You will understand it later. His whole height is another man's ladder. Kwang recognizes you. Of course he does. He looks at you the way a butcher looks at a calf that has gotten bigger. And while the clerk stamps your paper, Kwang slides his desk drawer open, slow, so you can see inside. Ration books. A whole stack, confiscated, rubber banded. Your family's is on top. Kwang watches you see it. Then he closes the drawer, smiles, and says nothing at all about it. At home, at the kitchen table, your sister Mina does the family's real math. She is 11. Mina watches you count the $100 and says it flat, the way she says all the true things. You don't pay him to look away. You pay him to keep needing you. Day gives you the rest of it that winter, by the market stove, counting the month twice like always. Carriers age out at 25, he says. Knees or prison. Then Day looks across the square at the trade office. The money was never in carrying. It's in owning what's carried. Higher up, it's in owning the stamp. You start saving for your own load that same night. Carry, own, stamp. 3 rungs on the whole ladder, and you are standing on the bottom one. Level 4. $1,000. The most dangerous thing in your house weighs less than a spoon. It is a memory stick, wrapped in plastic, buried in a rice sack. There are 200 more like it in the kimchi jars in your courtyard. 3 years of saving bought your first own load, and you did not buy rice. You bought South Korean television, dramas, mostly, whole seasons on discs and memory sticks, carried over the ice inside candy wrappers. Understand the pricing, because the pricing is the whole country. Smuggled rice, if you are caught, is a fine and a beating. Smuggled television is treason. Rice is a crime of the stomach. Television is a crime of the mind, and the mind is the only thing this state actually guards. Your family file already has 1 line in it, from a schoolyard in 1997. A second line does not get written down. A second line gets loaded onto a truck. So why do it? Margin. A sack of rice earns its weight. A disc earns 50 times its weight, and it weighs nothing. You sell 1 episode at a time, never the ending first. The ending is where the money is. A woman pays double for episode 16, once you've sold her 15. Half your customers are the wives of men in uniform. Sergeants' wives cry at the same television weddings as everyone else. They just cry in better coats. You memorize which houses hang 2 locks on the gate. 2 locks means something to lose, and a customer with something to lose pays on time and tells no one. Then, in spring, boots in the alley. A house search, 2 doors down. 6 inspectors working toward you. In the courtyard, you and Mina bury the stock in the kimchi jars in 4 minutes flat. Then Mina, 14 now, resorts the jars you just closed. Your order was wrong, she says. Wrong order is what inspectors notice. The search passes your gate without slowing. That night, Mina says it flat, wiping brine off her hands. Inspectors don't find things. They find nervous people. Later, through the kitchen window, Suk hands you a corn cob for the night run. The search never comes up. It never does. The summons comes in autumn anyway. The trade office, Kwang's desk, tea going cold, the patron photo on the wall. Kwang does not say the word disc. He does not say the word television. He recites, from memory, with his eyes closed like a man enjoying music. 400 grams a day. That was the allotment. I still remember your father's signature. Then Kwang opens his eyes and explains that his office runs on voluntary contributions from patriotic traders. 10%. He knows. He knew before you crossed back. And Kwang would rather own you than report you, because a prisoner pays once, and a business pays forever. You leave an envelope on his desk. You keep leaving envelopes. Under a blanket, by candlelight, in the kitchen, you count $1,000. Mina keeps the ledger in her head now. Paper is evidence. Her memory is not. And you notice what the discs did to the town. People stop asking you for stories about the other side. They start asking for the things in the stories. Rice cookers, nail polish, sneakers. The dramas were advertising, and you were the network. The town wants goods now. Goods need a stall. A stall needs a permit, and the permit needs a stamp, and you know exactly whose. Rice is a fine. Television is treason. You just built your future on the treason side of the ledger. Level 5. $10,000. Stall 11 is the worst spot in the town market, and you pay Kwang's office good money to get it. Far corner. No foot traffic. Half in shadow under the tin roof. The stall women decide the ice finally got to your head. But you did the math for a year. The gate stalls cost triple, and not for the customers. For the head start when an inspection comes through the gate. You don't plan to run from inspections. You plan to know their schedule, the way you knew the guards. So you take the cheap corner and spend the difference on inventory. Legal now, or legal enough. The permit hangs on a nail with Kwang's stamp on it, and some nights you look at it longer than you look at the money. The state took a book from your family and sold you back a paper. Same office, same ink. You notice the rhyme. You hang it on the nail anyway. The corner pays off exactly once, and once is enough. A rumor of an inspection empties the market in 4 minutes. Real inspections take 6. The difference is your whole margin. When the rumor hits, 40 stalls fold like tents and run. You restock instead, because the inspector is at his cousin's wedding 2 towns over. You know his schedule better than his wife does. Next morning, the stall women look at you the way sailors look at weather. Stall 11 stops being the worst spot in the market that day. Trade finds you in the shadow. Suk comes on opening morning, first customer through the gate, 69 years old, and dressed like it is a state holiday. Your grandmother buys nothing. She studies every shelf, touches nothing, nods once. Then Suk sets a dried corn cob on the counter and walks away without a word. The cob used to mean food. Now it means something the state has no stamp for. You leave it on the counter for a week. Nobody dares ask. Kwang walks the market on the first Monday of every month now. Watch what he does, because it is not shopping. He starts at the gate, works the rows slow, and always ends at stall 11. Last, in front of everyone. 10%. Count it out on your own counter, in daylight. It is the schoolyard again with better lighting. Public, official, unanswerable. Kwang needs it seen. The seeing is the product. But you catch something while he counts. Kwang complains, half to himself, folding your bills. Ginseng for the district. Cognac for the province. You think this stays in my pocket? The framed man in Pyongyang expects his share climbing ahead of Kwang's boots. The latter eats first. Kwang takes your 10% and keeps maybe 3. You file that away, next to the guard's 9 seconds. Being seen costs more than being hungry ever did. Hungry was only dangerous to you. Third summer, the cooking oil runs out. A Chinese wholesaler shorts the whole market, every stall, all at once. You dig up the jar under the kitchen floor and buy a 1-day trade pass. You cross the bridge in daylight for the first time in your life, legally, in a truck. You come back with 4 tons of oil, and by Friday, stall 11 is not a stall anymore. It is a supply line with a roof. The trouble with a supply line is that everyone can see where it leads. Level 6. $100,000. The radio says it on a Monday morning. The money is being replaced. Old one for new one. 100 to 1, and each family may exchange one small stack. Everything above the cap becomes paper. Not worthless. Paper. The way a dead man becomes a photograph. By now, you have a warehouse by the rail yard, and you broker Chinese goods to 40 stalls across 3 towns. Flour, oil, batteries, soap. And you hold your money in dollars and yuan, buried in 3 places, because the discs taught you what money looks like elsewhere. The state called foreign money poison your whole childhood. You believed the opposite. On schedule. It is the best financial decision of your life, and you made it out of spite. The town's savings die in 1 week. In the market, a man stands with a wheelbarrow of old one, asking politely if anyone will trade it for a sack of flour. Nobody will. Rice doubles every 11 days that winter. You count in mornings, not months. Be honest about what you are in this scene. Alive, because you distrusted the money. Rich, because your neighbors trusted it. There is a word for getting richer in a winter like this, and the word is not businessman. You extend credit to 11 stall women. Quiet, no paper, repay when you can. Nobody pays 10% this winter. There is nothing to pay it with, and do not make it noble. Dead stalls pay no broker. You need the market alive the way a fisherman needs the lake wet. The kindness and the math point the same direction, and you stop trying to pull them apart. A dried corn cob sits on the warehouse desk. Sook leaves one whenever you work past midnight now. Mina finds you there over the ledger. She is 20 years old and runs your books, which means she runs you. Mina reads down the credit column, all those names, and says it flat. They printed it. They can delete it. That's what the corn cob was always about. Kwang enforces the exchange himself, door to door, with a clipboard. Then, the joke lands on him. The bribes he hoarded for a decade are in one, hidden under his own floor. Hidden money cannot walk into a bank without explaining the hiding. Kwang's savings die the same week as everyone else's, at his own hand, holding his own clipboard. In spring, you see him at inspection in last year's suit. By summer, his shoes have been resold. He no longer recites your family's grams either. The recital needed leverage. The leverage is gone. The man is not falling yet, but he has stopped climbing, and in his line of work those are the same thing, just slower. One night that winter, a runner comes up short. A kid, 17, one of your carriers, missing 1/10 of his count. In the warehouse office, you take the kid's ledger and start flipping pages, slow, one by one, letting the silence do the arithmetic. Your hand stops on its own. You know this gesture. You watched it from a schoolyard crowd in 1997. Done to a ration book, done to your father. You close the ledger and slide it back across the desk. The kid pays what he owes by spring. You never do the slow flip again. You tell no one, and Mina knows anyway. At the thaw, OK comes to the warehouse. The town's moneylender, 70 years old, the whole town's credit system, in one gray head. OK keeps every debt in memory and has never written one down. She is retiring her rounds. She hands you nothing, signs nothing, and tells her borrowers a single sentence. Pay him what you owed me. The town's debts are yours now. You have become a place where money lives. Level 7. $1 million. The stall, the route, and my son's bicycle spot by the station. That is what a borrower offers you as collateral, at your kitchen table in the courtyard house, before breakfast. Not things, positions. In this country, nobody owns things worth taking. People own spots, routes, stamps, permissions. So that is what you lend against. There is a word for what you have become, donju. It means masters of money, and it is what this country calls its private bankers. The state has banks. Nobody sane uses them. The reform settled that argument forever. So money lives in people now. You are one of the people money lives in. The mechanics plain. You lend at 10% a month, the standard rate. Sit with that number 1 second longer. 10%. The guards cut on the river. Kwang's voluntary contribution. The number you spent 15 years paying is the number you now charge. Nobody planned the symmetry. The whole country runs on that number, in every direction, at every level. You didn't beat the toll. You became it, pointed the other way. Your vault is a hole in 3 places you never wrote down. Your ledger is Mina, 24 now, who keeps the true books in her head and burns the paper ones monthly. A rich man's ledger is the one page with nothing on it. Borrowers come to the courtyard house at dawn, before the street wakes up. Debt here is like laundry. Everyone has it. Nobody hangs it out where the neighbors can see. Here is this level in one scene. A factory manager cannot make quota because the state gave him a plan and no diesel. You finance the diesel. The factory makes quota. In autumn, at a ceremony in the factory yard, the state pins a medal on the manager's chest, brass band and all. You watch from the back of the crowd with your hands in your pockets. He gets the medal. You get the margin, plus a man in the planning office who now returns your calls. The richest men in this country own no medals. They own the men who wear them. Mina watches you watch the ceremony, flat as ever. You can buy everything here, except the version where they thank you. That winter, the newspaper prints the year's photographs, and a certain broad man from Pyongyang is not in any of them. Then the photo on Kwang's office wall changes. Same frame, same angle. But where the patron stood, there is now a potted plant. Kwang beside a plant, smiling at nothing. The town does the arithmetic before Kwang does. His office light burns late every night now, and in his line of work, late light is not diligence. It is a man reading his own file, over and over, guessing which line they will use. Somewhere in that office, the drawer of ration books is still shut. Nothing in it frightens anyone anymore. Suk is 76 and slower. The roles have turned around. You bring your grandmother real food now, white rice, pork, apples from China. Suk accepts one bowl and gives the rest away down the lane. And at the door, every visit, she presses a dried corn cob into your coat pocket with hands like paper. You are worth $1 million. You keep every one of those cobs. You could not explain this to a stranger, and you have stopped trying. In spring, 3 men in good coats tour your warehouse. Construction men from the capital. The state wants apartment towers it cannot pay for, they say. Somebody's money has to wear the state's name. The state gets the ribbon. The financier gets the top floors to sell. Why not the boy the state starved? You shake 3 hands and start counting floors. Level 8. $10 million. They cut the ribbon on your tower on a Tuesday. You watch from across the street, at the back of the crowd, like a man waiting for a bus. 2 towers in the capital, 18 floors each. Your money poured the concrete. The state's name is on the banner, and a minister's scissors cut the ribbon. Your name appears on no document, no deed, no speech. That is not an insult. That is the design. You sell the top floors to other men like you, quietly, in dollars, and everyone signs nothing. That is the contract. At this level, invisibility is not the price of the money. It is the money. In autumn, Kwang comes to the courtyard house. You know before he speaks, the purge that took his patron has worked its way down the ladder, rung by rung, and stopped on his. Kwang has been reassigned to a countryside checkpoint, counting turnip trucks. The youngest party man the town ever produced is now the oldest lieutenant at a road gate. He stands in your doorway with his hat in his hands, actually in his hands, and Kwang holds something out to you, with both arms, shaking, the way tribute is presented. The ration book, blue, soft at the corners, 400 grams a day, 1,997, your father's signature inside. Kwang kept it 20 years in that drawer, first as a weapon, then as a habit. Now it is the only thing he owns that you might want. Here is what $10 million buys tonight, if you want it. 1 phone call to your partner's security office, and Kwang's file gets reviewed. Reviewed files from a purged patron's ladder end in mines. That is the expensive option. The cheap one costs less than a funeral wreath. Buy Kwang a criticism session in the same schoolyard, on a crate, reading a confession somebody else wrote. Both options sit on the table between you. You have never wanted anything longer. You look at Kwang's hands shaking around your family's ration book. You do the math you have done your whole life, and the math comes out strange. You don't make the call. You give Kwang a supply contract for his checkpoint instead. Small, humiliating in its smallness, survivable. Kwang stands in the courtyard and watches you not make the call. He understands exactly what he is being given. That is the point, and it is the worst thing you could have done to him, and it costs you nothing. You waited 20 years for this to feel like fire. It feels like accounting. The book doesn't say sorry. It says 400 grams a day. Suk dies a week after the second tower opens. In her sleep, in her bed, 79 years old, warm, fed. By every measure of the world you grew up in, a victory. In her room, you find the sack of dried corn cobs, nearly empty now. And under the floorboard where the sack sat, a sealed glass jar, heavy, full of dried corn kernels. No label, No note? Mina stands in the doorway of Suk's room. Not tonight, she says. So you carry the jar to your desk, sealed, and there it sits. At the funeral, a wreath arrives from the capital, from the trade office. Official flowers on a metal stand. The ribbon carries one printed word among the titles. Partner. The office that starved your family calls you partner now, and the only person you ever wanted to read that word out loud is in the ground behind the house. Level 9. $100 million. You are one of the richest men in the country, and on paper, you own almost nothing. Not the towers, not the trucks, not even the office you sit in. The partnership works like this, in one breath. Your dollars, their name, joint ventures, import licenses, your capital wearing the office's stamp like a borrowed coat. The richest men here own no cars. They own the man who signs for the car. And above you sit 3 men who must be kept warm, and every man above you costs 10%. 3 men, 10% each. That is not corruption. That is the Constitution, the unwritten one, and you can recite it better than the real one. 22 years since the schoolyard? You are 37. So you try the one purchase left. Over tea in the capital office, carefully, you ask your partners about the family file, your father's name, the 1,997 session, struck from the record. You name a price, they smile. You name a better price, they stop smiling, because now you are being serious in a way that frightens them. The most senior man sets down his cup and explains, gently, the way you would explain rivers to a child. The file outlives everyone. That is what a file is for. Your father stays guilty in a folder, forever. There is no number. You, of all people, finally found the thing that doesn't have one. Back at your ledger desk, an invoice comes through among 40 others. Checkpoint Supply, Turnip Country, Kwang's District. You stamp it without pausing. You feel nothing in particular. That was the fire once. Now it is a line item. Approved. That night, Mina locks the office door, and you open the jar. Dried corn kernels, hundreds of them, whispering out across the ledger desk. Mina counts them the way Day taught the whole river to count. Twice. 214. You know the number before she finishes. 214 night crossings. Every crossing you ever made, from the first sack of salt to the last load of discs. Suk counted every one. A kernel in the jar, each time the door closed behind you at night. Never one question, because a question would have made you lie to her at the door. She refused to be lied to, so she just counted you out and counted you back. 214 times, Suk sat up in a dark kitchen waiting for the sound of a door. You never once caught her at it. The state kept a file on your family. So did your grandmother. Only one of those ledgers ever fed anyone. Mina looks at the kernels, then at the ration book lying beside the jar. 2 accounts of the same life, side by side on one desk. She says it flat, the way she has said every true thing since she was 8. You can buy the office. You can't buy what it wrote. In the morning, you go back to work, running the office that will never write your name. You put 1 kernel in your coat pocket, where the corn cobs used to go. The file says 400 grams a day. The jar says 214. You know which number your life added up to.